It is time to mind your business. Today we're talking about leadership and how do you become a better leader and what are the two things that you really need to focus on in order to lead a great company. What this is about today is how do you actually become the type of leader that other people want to follow. And when we're talking about this today, I want you to understand that these are subtle things. These are not the obvious things everybody knows. These are the subtle things that few people talk about. These are the nuances to leadership. You wonder, why is that person so great? We're going to dive into that and really look sort of underneath the hood and figure out what does it really take to become the kind of leader that other leaders want to follow. So if you're ready, buckle up. We're going to go ahead and get started right away. Let's go ahead and get going because this is a really fun topic. If you can master this, I want you to understand that the factor on wealth, if you want to have a very financially prosperous life, you've got to become a great leader. People who are not great leaders do not become very successful or wealthy. And you can look at anyone, and there is a great tie in putting those two things together. And here's the interesting thing. There's lots of studies done on this. Over 33,000, minus one of those zeros, 33,000 studies on leadership. And guess what? It's not that hard to figure out what makes a leader great. There's 4 common traits that all of those studies have found are universal. Number 1 is leaders have a great vision. Like, I want to do this. I can see my vision. The I have a dream of Martin Luther King, right? You have a great vision. Is it clear? Is it compelling? Can you communicate that so that people do want to follow you? And they can also have a great imagination of what the future will look like. And some people go, oh, I have this vision, but I don't know what it'll look like. I don't know how to do it. They can picture that whole scene. The other thing that great leaders do is they have the ability to see the big picture and see how everything relates to everything else, how they all weave within each other. And they have a sense of destiny about themselves and their lives and how all of this is sort of meant to be. Have you ever noticed that on some of those great movies that you see? People are like, oh, this is my destiny. And that's really what you want to think about. Now, these are common things, okay? This is not rocket science. You know, I don't think we needed to do 33,000 studies to figure out those 4 elements, but they're very common. And that's sort of the root of where it is. If you don't have those 4 things, right, you got to go back to square one and get those covered. But we also want to look at, well, who are these great leaders? Who do you think of when you think of a great leader? Put some of the comments down below. I would love to know who you think of. I pulled up a few here that are very commonly referred to and just did a search on who are some of the top great leaders. And these are some that came up in the top of the list. Winston Churchill. Of course, my dog is named after Winston Churchill, so I got to put him on the list. Thomas Jefferson, great leader. Abraham Lincoln, you can't debate that one, right? Richard Branson, also an amazing leader. And Madame Curie, right? You wouldn't, a lot of people like, huh? Why do you have her on there? Well, she's one of the few people who won the Nobel Prize twice in 2 different areas. Amazing, amazing woman. Gandhi, right? Talk about leadership, leading a whole country without violence. So what makes these people great? Greater than that list of 4 things that we talked about. What is it to you that makes them great? Now, what I really want to find out is these are great leaders, magnanimous people, but how many do you personally know? How many people do you think that you personally know right now, not, through media, but really personally know through your own experience that you would say is a great leader? Would you count 2, maybe 3, maybe 4? Very few people can even get beyond 5 people that they know right now that are great leaders. In fact, one of the interesting things about great leaders is they surround themselves by other great people. So see if you can start putting greater density of leaders around you, and you will absorb some of that and you will also become that. So here's the thing. Leadership is a lot like dieting. Okay, we all know what to do. If you want to lose a little bit of weight, you know exactly what to do. You eat right, you eat a little less, and you exercise a little bit more, right? It's just those two things. It's not that hard, right? Okay, so we know this. Put the fork up to your mouth a few less times, or put the better things on the fork, and go exercise. Go burn some of those calories. Those are the two qualities that you need to do to lose weight. But here's the real question. Do we do it? No. In America, in the US, we are one of the most unhealthy societies. We have, I believe right now, it's a 48%, it might be even 52 by now, 48% weight. That's not just a couple pounds, this is obesity, right? And why is that? During the pandemic, the reason there was a greater loss of life in the US was because we were so unhealthy. But we all know exactly what to do. Eat less, exercise more. So what is the problem? Why aren't we doing it? And it's the same thing with leadership. In fact, if you look at it, just managing your body is a form of leadership. So what about managing your business? It comes down to two problems. Is it that you don't know what to do, or that you don't do what you know you should do? I think it's a little bit of both. What do you think? The people don't know how to be a great leader, or they don't do the things that you need to do to be a great leader. So I'm going to on the side of sometimes people don't know it, and some people don't know how to do it, or it doesn't seem to work. So what if you're not guilty of one or the other, but a little bit of both? I want to talk to you today how you can empower your leadership. Now, one of the things that always comes up when we talk about this subject is the mindset. There's a great book on this talking about the fixed mindset and a growth mindset. Or if your mind is very fixed, oh, it's always this way, it has to be this way, and you're not willing to change, yeah, that's going to be harmful for your leadership capabilities. If you have a growth mindset where you're always looking, you have the vision and the imagination and the destiny and that view that we talked about from those 33,000 studies, then that one will help you. But not all leaders are just growth, right? You've probably seen some leaders and they are very fixed in their mindset, but they have some other qualities that just make them unstoppable. So it's not just as simple as fixed or growth. It's very vital, but it's not everything. So if you're thinking, oh, I'm one of these people with a fixed mindset, I can't do it. No, there's still hope. We're going to dive into that a little bit more, okay? So leadership is really a thinking person's game. You really have to use the full capacity of your mind if you want to be a great leader. Think of it like a full stack mind. Okay, when you're looking to hire people in business, you want people with the greatest range of capabilities. That's how you have to be with being a leader in the wilderness, right? Who's the greatest animal? What is it? Right? It's the one with the greatest requisite variety, the greatest ability to do many different things. That is the mind of a leader. So let's look at this. Now, I studied the brain for years, and I want to really dive into this. So this is your brain. And if we take this here, so let's take a look at the actual brain here. Here's a model of the brain. It has all these different pieces here, right? You can see how this looks like that, right? So I might lose some of the parts here, but this is the same thing. And this is your brain. And yes, men and women have different size brains. Put down below who you think has the bigger brain, men or women. But these are the different parts, the 6 main parts of the frontal lobes, the parietal, occipital, temporal, the cerebellum, and the brainstem. And so these are the parts of the brain. And if you're using all parts of your brain, you have greater leadership capacity. All of these different parts of the brain have a different function. And so I want you to think about this, how this ties into being a leader and how you would use these different parts of the brain. So if you kind of break it down and look inside here, you can see all these different parts in the cerebellum and the brainstem and the occipital lobe back here. This is what, I'll have you take a closer look at this. So this is what all these different parts do. The frontal lobe up here, right? This is for reasoning and problem solving and emotional regulation. Think about a leader. They have have to do a lot of planning and thinking and analysis. So you really have to be using the frontal brain. Parietal, which is a little bit more back here, and this involves more about how are you processing some of the information as far as sensory information and temperature, pain. Leaders do have to have that kind of sensitivity in their business as well. The occipital lobe here, that's about visual processing. This is where we're talking about that visual aspect of a leader. The temporal brain is about audio processing, memory. What are you hearing about what's going on? What's going on in the world and business? And cerebellum down here, this part that goes in right here, that is all about voluntary movements and balance. How are you keeping your business in flow with the market, ahead of the market, moving with the tides? And then the brainstem, that's all about the breathing and the heart rate. So these are the different parts of the brain. Think about that as the different parts of being a true leader. You need to be able to manage all of those. Okay. Now that you understand you have to have a whole brain thinking in leadership, we come back kind of to the question of why don't you? Why do we get all mixed up and crazy about things? You know, the biggest problem that I see in leaders and people trying to grow a business is they get all caught up in distraction, right? And they're trying to add more things and add more things. And what happens is you get shiny object syndrome. So here's a book I wrote on that. And if you ever struggled with shiny object syndrome, right? Oh, you're like, oh, I want this and I want this and I want this. And you keep adding more and more things to your plate, but you never get anything done. Go ahead and request this book. Just type SOS, shiny object syndrome. We'll go ahead and give that to you at the end. I'm going to give you a link and you can download this. This is going to help you get over this distraction thing, right? A leader's brain is very singularly focused, and a non-leader is very horizontally focused, and they're looking at everything. And oh, look at all these opportunities like a kid in a candy store. So that's not going to help you. You have to be very singularly focused. And if you ever get distracted and you find you have all these things that you don't touch, but it looks so good in the moment, and you have to have it instantly and all this instant gratification, or everybody's doing this, then you're probably suffering from a little bit of shiny object syndrome. So go ahead and get this book. I want you to have that as a freebie. And we want to help you overcome this inner tug of war. Like, I really want this, but I don't want to have this problem. People are always going through this back and forth. And it's a back and forth between moving towards what you want, but moving away from what you're fearing, right? And it's a question of which one are you? Are you a moving towards person where you're always going for what you want? Or are you moving away from, like, I would do that, but I don't want to feel this. Like, I don't want to get hurt, or I don't want to look foolish, or what if I lose, or what if it doesn't work out, or what if I spend money on this and it doesn't work? So this is the conundrum that a lot of people have internally in their mind. That's why they can never balance this out and really focus on leadership. When you're thinking about it, what is it? We talked about fixed mindset and growth mindset. Or is it that leaders are natural born leaders? Is it really such a thing? Or are we doomed to how we're born, right? This is the constant great debate of nature versus nurture. Did you get born into an environment where you're naturally going to be a leader? Maybe you came from a wealthy family, or you had all these options, or maybe, like in my case, I had some really great mentors and I was nurtured along the way. And that led to a meteoric rise in a lot of the companies I worked with. What is it for you? And do you feel it's nature or nurture? So the real answer is that it's not so black and white. It's really, what's the move that you're going to make? And is it nature, or is it nurture, or is it drive? It really is the drive, because you might have been in the right environment that you were raised in, but you don't do anything about it because everything is handed to you. Or you might have been nurtured, but you really don't have the drive, or you don't really believe it. Like, everybody thinks I'm great, but you have this imposter syndrome going on in your head. So if you take that, it's really about you. It's about you taking your free will to make the move. And that's where people fall down. Like, what move do I make? So if you're thinking about sin, right? We're going there, okay? Great sin. What is sin? Sin is missing the mark. Great sin of leadership is missing the mark. That means you're focused on lack and loss and less. Those are the hallmarks of people who aren't leaders. Their focus is always that way. What could happen? What might happen? Oh, we don't have enough of this. We can't do this. That's the great sin of leadership. So how do you get beyond that? How do you get outside of that kind of thinking? Because that's really missing the mark. A great leader focused on making their mark. And how do they make their mark? They listen. They listen to the marketplace. They listen to their team members. They listen to their customers. And they take all this knowledge in. Remember, we talked about this in that frontal lobe where they're taking all this in and then they're seeing it and then they're metabolizing it. So they listen and then they learn and they learn it. They don't just ingest, but they really integrate it and then they lift other people up around them. So that's the difference. That's how you make your mark. Now, what is it then? That you don't know it or you're not doing it? I would say most of the missing of the mark, that exclamation mark or question mark, is that you're just not doing it. And why is that? Here's the two answers that we're finally coming to about this whole show. The reason you're missing the mark comes down to two things. Okay. If you're not considered a great leader, if people don't look up to you, if people don't list you as 1, 2, or 3, or 4 people that they know personally as a great leader, it's really unique and different, compelling, right? Has that charisma, has people following them. They have the Midas touch. If that's not you, then you need to work on that. How do you build that leadership quality? It's actually quite simple. Some people say, well, I'm just not smart enough, or I just don't have that compassion. I'm just not that touchy-feely kind of person. It doesn't have to be IQ or EQ. It can be both. We did a whole show on IQ and EQ. If you want to go look at it and just go into our YouTube channel and you can go back and watch it. But it's not one or the other. Nothing is one or the other. Right? You know, you don't have half a coin, the front half and not the back half. You have the whole thing. So you need to be completely rounded up about this. This is what we call esemplastic leadership. I don't know if you've heard this, but right? So you have the ability to put all these disparate parts together into one unified whole. This is a term that Samuel Coleridge came up with. And esemplastic means the one who has the power to shape disparate parts into one unified whole. And we talk about this here. This is the root of our SOAR formula is singularity. So this is how you become the one that other leaders want to follow. And when you can do this using the whole brain concept that we talked about, and then you have the ability to shape a company into one unified whole. So what does this mean? There's two parts. We have the know-how. Do you have the know-how? What we mean here is the talent, the training, and the technology. Do you have that? Do you have the right talent in your company? Do you have the right talent that is working with you? If you don't have a mentor or a coach, you need to get one. Okay. Do you have the right training? Some people are doing outdated training just because it's affordable, but that doesn't make any sense. Right. And then the other thing is, do you have the technology? Do you have the current tools and resources that will take you to the highest level of leadership? If not, you need to do that. This is the know-how. Like, I don't know how to do it. Then you don't have the talent and the training and the right technology to get to that level of leadership. Now, the second thing, so is it the know-how for you, or is it the show how? And this is part of that, if you think about it, like that nature versus nurture thing. So this means the right environment. And do you have the encouragement? Because you can have a great environment, but if everyone's like, well, whatever, right? Nobody's doing anything, nobody's encouraging you and sort of inspiring you to go higher and better and faster, what's the point? And do you have entrepreneurialism? Or do you have that kind of mindset that like, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to create this, I have this vision, I have this impact that I want to create on the world. So do you have those three? Okay. So this is the show how, right? You need the know-how and you need the show how. And that's really what it takes. So not only do you have to have this kind of environment in your world, but you also need to create that. You need to create an environment where people have the talent and the training and the technology, and they have the entrepreneurial environment and the enthusiasm, the encouragement to actually produce. And that's how you produce leaders. You don't have one leader. A leader is the kind of person who can create more leaders. And that's what you're looking to do. So know how and show how. The problem is, if you don't do this, if you don't create this environment, it's called recidivism afterwards. You know what happens to prisoners if they come out of prison and they go back into the same old environment, they end up back in jail. And the same thing happens with leaders. If you're not constantly nurturing this environment and creating new opportunities for growth and training and attracting more talent to you, you're just going to be imprisoning yourself as you go forward. This is what you need to think about. Is my environment set up for leadership? Am I creating an environment for leaders? And am I in an environment to be a great leader? This is what I want to encourage you to do. If you realize you just don't have it yet, but you have the drive, but you don't actually have the results of a leader, there's two ways that you can talk to me, okay? Talk to me if you want to be a truly great leader in your company. That's what we do, is mentor great leaders and build great legacy companies. Or if you would love to be a great leader in our company, I would love to invite you to come and apply to work with us, because we are always looking to develop leaders and to develop leaders who will help other leaders grow in their own company. So that's what we do at Iconic Business Advisors. I would love to talk to you more and really help you with both the soft skills and the hard skills. And soft skills are things like not just the how do you figure out what are my KPIs, my OKRs, and how do I figure out my gross profit, net profit margins, and all of those. But there's other skills like how do I conquer this procrastination habit that I have, or this imposter syndrome that I have, or a tendency to just be lazy, or a quitting mentality. We just did a show on Don't Quit. Okay. Watch that. It was about 2 weeks ago. So if you want help with that and you're like, I can't afford to work with you guys, have another coach, talk to Tim. Tim is the Iconic Mind. It is our app that we created, that where I downloaded my mind into an app to give you all the answers on these things that you need. 5 minutes a day. So easy. You can go pick up the app. Tim will literally talk to you. And he'll say, hey, good morning. What should we talk about? And what is it that you want to work on? Are you working on being a great leader? Are you working on teamwork? What is the thing that you want to work on? And Tim will work on it. And every day you talk to him, he remembers more and more and builds a customized program just around you and your needs and what you need to be a great leader. So you need the soft skills and you need the hard skills, right? We're really good at helping you kind of with the hard skills and building out that company really big. But sometimes you just need someone to talk to and like get something off your mind. And that's where Tim comes in. So that's why we did it. So if you can't always get me, you can always get Tim, which is the Iconic Mind. He is our brand new app that we created. And today, this is what you get. You can either talk to Tim, go to the iconicmind.com, or you can go ahead and get the shiny object book. Okay. If you're struggling with just overwhelm and you're not organized or focused or clear, you don't even know what your vision is, you don't even know how to get there, get that shiny object book. Okay. And you can download that instantly. So there's a link right there. You just go to link iconicbusinessadvisors.com/, if you are just listening on a podcast. So I want you to have these things. I want you to start shifting your mindset. If you really want to grow your company and your income and your influence, you really need to start focusing on leadership, not creating more posts and videos and all of that. Focus on being a true leader and being surrounded by great leaders, and find a great leader who can guide you to the next level that you want to go to. So if you want to get T.I.M, then go to theiconicmind.com. You get the app. You're going to pick a path. What is the path that you want to work on? Maybe it's leadership. Maybe it's something else. Maybe it's sales skills. And then you talk to Tim 5 minutes a day and you get the results. Okay. If you want to talk to me, then I would love to talk to you as well. Just book a call. Go to callconnie.com and we can talk about your products, your systems, your teams, whatever it is that you need to do. And if you want to watch this again, this is going to be available as a replay up until Tuesday, and then it comes down. So go ahead and type replay if you want us to send that to you. So the biggest thing that I want you to think about right now is the time is to be a leader. The world is changing so fast, and one of the things that we have not enough of is great leaders. And I want to inspire you, encourage you to become an iconic leader. Reach out to us, either work with our team or become part of our leadership team and become a great leader. Be iconic, and we will see